Joining us now, friend of the program, part of the program, Arizona Cardinal wide receiver Michael Wilson. This segment brought to you by our friends at Branded Bills. Elevate your brand with Branded Bills, the perfect headwear and apparel. Use the bonus code PHNX for 20% off your first purchase. Mike, you get the dub on Sunday against bitter rival San Francisco. You have your best game of the season. Walk us through the environment with the Arizona Cardinals post-game. What was that like, and what's the mood now entering week 6?
Yeah, it was ecstatic. I think anytime you can get a divisional win is major props to you and your franchise. And obviously coming off the abysmal loss against the Commanders, we knew that this was a must-win game for our organization, for our team. So it was a lot of celebration. Truthfully, I'm still pretty excited about it, and I kind of need to subdue my emotion and flip the page and get ready for Green Bay. But I think anytime you can get a win, especially against a really good team like that, you kind of savor it for a little bit. But yeah, we're super excited going forward. I think that, like, obviously the NFL, it's a 17-week season. Like every week is its own. Every game is its own week. It's its own preparation. So our process has to be like tomorrow we got to flip the page and go into Green Bay and reset everything, reset our mind, and kind of truthfully just forget about the win. But coming off a win feels a lot better than coming off a loss. Like last week, the tensions were a little bit up. Guys were just a little bit more pissed off, and I'm sure they will be this week. But nothing's got to change about our process. I think we had a great week of practice last week. We got to just capitalize on the momentum we have and the confidence that we've earned back. I think we earned our confidence back with this win and kind of reestablished our identity as a football team and know that we can be a really good team and beat some of the top teams in the league. And we are a top team in the league.
It really,
yeah.
I apologize, man. It really puts things in perspective, though. It's like, hey, the Washington loss just counts as one, just like all of them, right? And it's like you guys were able to refocus. And JG had mentioned like the preparation, as you were pointing out, win or loss, like you guys were putting in the work last week, and he felt confident going in this game. But I want to backtrack a little bit. We talk about post-game locker room, going into the locker room at halftime. I mean, that game was not going your guys' way. You had the kick blocked. It was returned for the touchdown. Kyler had the interception before the end of the half. Like, where was it? What do you think you guys did to come out of the gates in the second half and really kind of put on that comeback?
Yeah, I think we just kept our energy up. And, like, as bad as it was, I still feel like we couldn't be stopped on offense. We would have got 3 points with a blocked field goal. And then the interception, we were basically in the red zone or on the fringe of getting into the red zone. So that could have been either a 10-point or 6-point swing. But I knew, and we all knew that, like, we couldn't hang our heads. And I think last week, what we learned from last week is I think our energy just as a team wasn't as good as it was this week. And that was an emphasis going into this week, is regardless of what the result is at the time, like, don't drop your energy. And that was a big emphasis for me personally too, is after we didn't get that fourth down against the Commanders in the week prior, like, you could just feel the fans, you could feel the team, like everything in that stadium just kind of was shrunken and seemed like we were out of life. But I think that was a good testament to our ability to learn and adapt, throughout the season. Is regardless of what the score is, the NFL shows and the statistics show you're never out of the game as long as you fight. And that's what we did as a team. So I'm really proud of us.
Mike, in the past, like, we as a group, we've talked about your maturation process with Kyler Murray. And the reason I'm bringing this up is, last year in Philadelphia, you talked about it, like the miscommunication, right? And now I look at your communication and the confidence level and the trust between the both of you. And, I look at, like, we look up after Sunday and you catch 5 or 6 passes, right? And there's a consistency there. And then you look on the opposite end, just like you last year, and there's Marvin Harrison Jr. And it's clear he and Kyler Murray are still working through some of those hiccups that come with being not only a newbie, but you've got a new quarterback. Talk to me about that and your support for Marvin as it relates to you being in that same spot last year.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's tough. I think like I said, Kyler plays the game at a really high level, and he's probably going to throw you balls that most quarterbacks wouldn't throw because he trusts you and believes in your ability. And after Hollywood got hurt, I was playing the X position. That's what Marvin plays now. And normally when you're the X receiver, you get a lot more one-on-one, man-to-man coverage balls, a lot of backside fades. And those typically are lower percentage completion passes than you're a Z receiver. As a Z receiver, you're mainly responsible for, you're the point of attack on most run plays, which the X doesn't have as much responsibility in the run game. Most of your passes, or a lot of them, will come against zone coverage. So I feel that the position he's playing, like his target to catch percentage is not going to be like 85% because he's going to get a lot of one-on-one 50-50 balls. As you've seen throughout the course of the season, he's done a really good job of making some incredible catches, and he's going to continue to do so. But I think as Marvin continues to get more comfortable in the NFL game, and they obviously continue to just build more reps, I think you'll see that number start to be, 5 catches on 7 targets, 6 catches on 9 targets, like closer. It's just going to take time because as a rookie, there's a lot that's like you haven't fully arrived, and no player in the NFL has arrived, but you definitely have a lot going on your plate. And I think each game, how I've known, being around Marvin, I could tell he's getting more comfortable game in and game out, more confident in the system, in his relationship with Kyler. But I think one of these games we're going to get to see 10 for 11, 170 yards. I know at some point that game is coming. I can't tell you when, but at some point it's going to come.
5 catches on 6 targets for 78 yards to lead the team, like our guy Mike Willie. And I was just watching, the mic'd up that the team did for Michael Wilson. It's live. Cool. And you talk about, remaining confident. I mean, you're sitting there, you're telling Marv on the sideline, it's coming. Yeah. So much to take away from that. But, you told me last year, you felt that your play would impact Kyler's legacy. Do you feel similar with Marv? Because Marv has a similar, I don't know what you say, aura, but this is the 4th overall pick. You have your own career, but do you feel like you have some role as far as the success of Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Yeah, I don't think my role plays as big of a part as it does in Kyler's role, because my success our successes are dependent on each other. If I perform well, then obviously that looks good for Kyler and vice versa. I feel a little bit of responsibility as a teammate and as a receiver and just a friend of Marvin to constantly give him support and remind him a lot that he is, a top receiver in the game and was drafted 4th overall for a reason. And I think I wanted to make an emphasis this game and going through the season to give him tidbits and give him constant reminders that, he is that guy. And as a receiver, it can be tough. I think at that point he caught his first target, or a second one, for an explosive on the fade ball. That was a great catch. And I think him and Kyler missed on the next 3 or 4. And I could tell he was getting a little bit frustrated because he has a high standard of performance for himself, one of the highest I've ever been around. And much like myself, he wants to catch every single ball that's thrown his way. And I felt responsibility as an older player and as a brother of his to just remind him, because confidence, the best athletes in the world, we all go through a little bit of ebbs and flows with confidence. If you're playing really well, the game is really easy. And if you're not playing well, or they've thrown you some balls and you haven't connected, it can be frustrating at times, because that's our job as receivers. We're judged on how well we can catch the football and how many times we can make the play when the ball comes our way. But I guess to sort of make it short, I do feel responsible for just being a really supportive receiver and doing the best I can to keep reminding him and instilling confidence in him throughout games when things don't go well or aren't going as well. But yeah, because also not only do I love Marvin the player, but the person is really special too, and I do care about him as an individual. And as special as he is as a person or as a player, he's more special as a person getting to know him, especially with all the success he's had. You think he'd have, a blown up ego. He's one of the most down to earth people you meet in your life.
Mike, I'm not going to do the thing that everybody does where, hey, are you guys where you want to be offensively, right? Like we're 5 games into this. Yeah. However, I think like selfishly, like this podcast, this media market, like we looked at this offense as, hey, that's the strength of the team this year. Michael and Marvin and Trey and James and Kyler and Greg, like putting up points early and often. And then we saw the output.
Got Zay coming back this week.
And Zay Jones this week, right? I mean, it's loaded. You guys got, I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches, especially young talent. And I include you in that. Through 2 weeks, Buffalo, 28 points, and the LA game, you guys were over 40 points in that game. Over the last 3 weeks, it's been a little bit more hit and miss. 17 points per game. Obviously, it looked like on Sunday against San Fran, like there were signs of it coming kind of into its own. Like, what's the messaging, I guess, from offensive coordinator Drew Petzing to get you guys to where you want to be offensively? Because I got to imagine, like, knowing the talent in that room, you guys aren't content with what you're doing offensively yet.
Yeah. Just execution, just being better. The small things. I think the little things have been getting us in the Detroit game and the Commanders game. The little things have been leading to big things, and focusing more on alignment, assignment, key tech, like the small things that probably to the untrained or like the average fan probably won't understand. But to us, the high level, it makes a big difference. And just focusing on those small things, I think, will pay dividends. But also, too, we did play against some really good defenses. Detroit they got a really good defense. The Commanders are obviously a good outfit, good team all the way around. And the Niners obviously have one of the most talented defenses in all of the National Football League. So I feel like we're at a good spot right now. But like I said, with the talent that we have, like we want to put up 30 plus a game. But yeah, execution. That's what I'm gonna keep. That's my answer. Execution of the little things, and that'll show up big time on the scoreboard and on the tape as well.
You guys are elite on opening drives, man. 5 for 5. It's unbelievable. And the latest one, and as I mentioned, the mic'd up thing. There you are following your quarterback downfield. He's tough to keep up with when he's running 22 miles per hour.
Yeah.
That play.
I know, crazy. Our JG said in the meeting room, if you throw up a peace sign, 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, you better be the fastest human on the earth. But that just goes to show how good of an athlete Kyler is and the confidence that he has in his speed, because there's only a couple players in the NFL that are confident enough and have the conviction to throw up that peace sign when you're even with somebody. That was pretty special to see.
So Kyler uses his legs this week, and that's a big kind of talking point within the national media, the landscape of what Kyler Murray has to be able to run for the Cardinals offense to work. But then I push back and like, I've seen him sit in the pocket and throw darts for over 300 yards. Like, do you think this offense just benefits from the fact that you guys, when you're humming, can beat teams a lot of different ways?
For sure. Yeah. I think that just goes to show how versatile Kyler is, and why I believe he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL is because he can beat you in a multitude of ways. He can throw on time like the best quarterbacks in the league can, like Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers. He's got great extension of the play like other top quarterbacks and Mahomes, Lamar. And then also he can beat you with his legs and is as good as probably anyone in the league at doing it when he's healthy, and he is right now. So I think Kyler, from a defensive standpoint, from a defense perspective, I feel like he would be extremely hard to game plan for, especially when he's playing at a high level. I think when Kyler's playing at his best, I think his best is probably like best in the NFL when he's playing confident, when the pass game's on, when he's using his legs to extend plays, and when he's throwing on time. Like he's got so much talent. It's just a matter of can the guys around him also play at a high level and, help, like I said, help play a part in his legacy and making the game easier for him.
What do you think's next for you? You seem like back-to-back great performances for yourself.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, led the team in receiving yards. Good game against the Commanders as well. We need you to find the end zone again. You're week one. You were the opening tutty of the season for the Cardinals. I see Marv doing a ball spin on his last touchdown. I'm like, Mike Wilson's elite. That one's pretty good.
Yeah.
What's next for you in your game?
Next for me, I think honestly, next for me is just really just being consistent. I felt like this game is the type of game I want to be consistently known as a guy that every time you throw me the ball, you can have confidence I'm going to come down with it. And I'm going to block my ass off. I'm going to play hard for my team. I'm going to make tough catches. And then in critical situations, I can earn enough confidence from the coaching staff to call plays for me on third down or on fourth down. Like I could be a sure hands go-to guy and just doing it at a consistent level. That's sort of the next step for me, I think, is just being able to show up game to game to game to game, not have like a sporadic game where 1 out of every 3 games I have, 70, 78 yards. I wanted that to be consistent. I know sometimes that's not a reality for a receiver because a lot of your success isn't solely dependent on you, but just be a guy that can show up consistently on the stat sheet and on tape as someone that's doing their job at a high level, making tough catches, and contributing to the team in a positive way.
Mike, when we had a chance to chat with you last year, it was a transition year for you, this entire franchise. You didn't have your franchise quarterback until late in the season. You fast forward to now. I know you guys may or may not be where you want to be record-wise, a very competitive 2-3, but you are 2-0 against the NFC West, a team, a division that you guys went 0-6 against last year. Talk to me about the confidence boost now and very much living. I know it's game to game, week to week, but living in that mindset of we're viable right now in 2024. We had Mina Kimes on the show earlier stating like the rebuild is over for the Arizona Cardinals. Like, do you guys feel that way?
For sure. Yeah. I think, anytime you play, like as a rookie last year going into games, I never had the perception that this was a rebuild. Like we were trying to win every game. But obviously in hindsight, looking back, like I think it was the odds were stacked against us more last year than were this year because of quarterback play. And now we have a healthy Kyler Murray with the entire offseason, plus a returning coaching staff. But yeah, there's absolutely no excuses for our organization and for why we can't win now because we have everything that we need to win. But touching on, you talked about confidence going into games. I think confidence is earned. And I think last week we all were a little bit shocked of what happened because I think our team is way too talented to lose in the fashion that we did against the Commanders. But that's, I think JG's, he gave a speech that really resonated with, I think, our whole organization at team meeting, or it was either post-practice, and he said, I'm sure in your guys' career too, there's been moments where you probably loved what you said on the show and other moments where you haven't. And just like games, like I've had great games, I've had bad games. And after bad games, your confidence can tend to dip a little bit more, but the only way you can get it back is to act. And through the act comes dialing up your process. And I feel like our process last week was amazing because everyone felt a sense of urgency to sort of regain our confidence in our team, confidence from our fan base, confidence from our coaching staff in the players, confidence from the players in the coaching staff. Like there was just a great sense of urgency and it came from our process. I keep talking about process, but that's what wins games is having a detailed dialed in process. And it feels a lot better that we won this week going into the week, but we have to keep that same sense of urgency in detailing our process. So that way we can play fast and play with confidence going into the Green Bay game.
Quickly, Mike, last 2 training camps I've been to, there have been 2 players that have stood out to me and were undeniable from a rookie class standpoint. I'm going to put Marvin in his own category.
Yeah.
So last year it was you, and we talked about you ad nauseum on our show. You have to watch number 14. He looks fantastic. This training camp, there was a certain defensive lineman from Missouri that you guys may or may not get back this week in Darius Robinson. So Darius Robinson, first-round pick out of the SEC, has a tremendous training camp with you guys, goes down with a hammy. Now it looks like he could be back at any moment's time. Like, talk to me about that infusion of talent and disruption for your defensive line with a guy of that caliber, because his skill set is immense.
For sure, yeah. We don't it's hard for me to evaluate guys, especially like D-line and offensive linemen, because we just don't watch those guys on tape. But talking to, Beachum, Paris, Will, like our offensive linemen, and I hate to say this about him or put that type of pressure on him, but they've all said that he has the ability to be a All-Pro or a Pro Bowler at some point in the next 3 years. Like, that's how talented he is. And every time you talk to O-linemen about him, or our running backs about him, like, their eyes light up and say, yeah, like, that boy's for real. So I think anytime you can get a premier pass rusher and run defender back in your defense, like, it's going to help a lot, because ultimately receivers and skill positions are great. The people that win and lose games, it all starts in the trenches. So to get a premier guy like that back is going to be massive for our organization.
Let's get out of here on maybe off the field. The reverse troll from Kyler Murray to turn the criticism he takes for Call of Duty, playing Call of Duty, and turning it into, as he called, a bag. Yeah. Your thoughts on your quarterback, just his finesse off the field?
It's amazing. I think he's done a really good job this year of showing fans who he really is and taking media into his own hands and showing the side of him that he wants people to see, which is a really amazing and special person. So I'm happy for him that he was able to, something good was able to come from all that hate he was getting a couple of years ago.
No doubt about it. Speaking of kind of doing his own media thing, it's our guy Michael Wilson doing it here with us at PHNX Cardinals. He's telling us, giving us great answers throughout. Just did 20 minutes, my man. So thankful for it. Can't wait to catch up with you again. Hopefully it's falling off a big dub going to historic Lambeau Field. You got to be excited to go play there.
Yeah, it's going to be a special one. You got to win, though. That's the only thing that matters. You got to win.
You guys have been a lot of fun to watch this year. Continued success, my guy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
We all silly like the mayor.